I still wait.
That story, so many.
Yes. Yes.
What happened last night? The rocket. So we never
Good morning, everybody. Bonjour à tous. Good morning to our special guests, to Dean Eidelman, our Osler Fellows, the leadership of our physicianship program, and especially the class of 2022, your family and friends. My name is Dr. Beth Cummings, and I'm the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Medical Education, and I'll be your host for this morning's event. We recognize that McGill University is on land which long served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst Indigenous peoples. We acknowledge and thank the diverse Indigenous people whose presence has enriched this territory on which peoples of the world now gather. We will be photographing and filming this event. If you do not wish to have your image posted on our social media channels, please do notify a staff member. And now, please join me in welcoming Dr. Ante Padjan and the I Medici di McGill String Quartet.
Bonjour, les invités d'honneur, Monsieur le Doyen, les collègues, les parents, et class of 2022. It's a great pleasure to be here again for the 19th time. I Medici di McGill String Quartet is participating in this very important moment in your development, and we really are pleased to be here. Let me first introduce the quartet. Kian Lee, a PharmD working at MUHC at Glenn. Michelle Taillefer, do you know her? All right. All right, that's the way. And Phil Raffles, who is a director of Helios Center for Sustainable Energy. And I'm Ante Padjan, geriatric part of this quartet, spending 40-something years as professor of pharmacology and neuroscience, and now working on salutogenic effect of music. I'll let you guess what it is. As you know, we are members of a larger group called I Medici di McGill Orchestra that has been around for 30 years. And in these 30 years, we have been, I believe, one contributing factor in the movement of humanizing medicine, medical education, medical practice, and we are very thankful that all the deans thought that we are doing something of use to you students and to practice and so forth. So I could also invite you to our next two concerts. One is on 15th of October, and the other one is on 17th of November, Benefit for Cancer, Cedar Cancer Foundation. Today we have chosen again music that in some sense is by an author that pretty much personified what I Medici were doing. Dr. Alexander Borodin was a physician, a chemist of note, contributed to the development of Mendeleev tables, and very forward-looking, shall we say, social activist who started a medical school for women way before any Western university did it. I should say also McGill. He is also a composer of note whose music actually reached even 20th century because some of his music was used in some Broadway shows, and you probably would recognize if we played it. But we don't play that music. We play first movement of his second quartet, that has everything that he has actually contributed to the Russian music of the late 19th century. Enjoy the music and see you at our concerts. Thank you.
Merci. Merci aux membres du I Medici de McGill String Quartet pour cette excellente prélude musicale. I would now like to invite Dr. David Eidelman, Vice Principal of Health Affairs and Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, to deliver his address.
Merci Beth. Bienvenue à tous et à toutes. C'est pas seulement en tant que doyen, mais en tant que médecin que je vous adresse aujourd'hui. C'est vraiment une des journées préférées de l'année scolaire. This is really a great day where we get to welcome you here for this very important ceremony. I want to wish a very warm welcome to our keynote speaker, Dr. Beth Lone, who's Chief Medical Officer at the Schwartz Center for Compassionate Healthcare. It's an honor to have you with us today. Thank you for joining us. And I also want to recognize the presence of, we can have this ceremony in part thanks to the generous support from benefactors such as McGill's alumnus, Dr. Frederick Braun, and his wife Maureen. And Rick is here with us today, so thank you very much for joining us. I will be calling on you to say a few words in just a couple moments. I want to thank and recognize Joanna Caron for the UJME Physicianship Component Director, who's worked diligently with staff members to make sure that things go as they should. And I also want to recognize Dawn Boudreau, who is now famous in all the McGill videos, but Dawn Boudreau, who has really been a steadfast, really initiated this and has been a steadfast supporter of this very, very important ceremony over many, many years. So for those who for some reason are here for a second time, like you have another kid in your class or a kid had to have 2 white coat ceremonies or something like that, you'll know that I always talk about how different things were when I was a student. So in 1976, when I would have been at your stage, that was the year of the Olympics. So when Montreal was the center of the world and Nadia Comaneci was a famous person, and so the old people all know what I'm talking about. And medical students had a very special role in 1976. We were pee-pee collectors. So my big job there was to follow athletes around at the Olympic Village and in the Olympic sites to collect urine. Well, I didn't collect, I had them collect the urine, but then I had to supervise it. And then we got to go everywhere all over the Olympics. So that was very, very exciting. That was as exciting as it got. What we didn't have was any sort of formal recognition that our lives were undergoing a profound change. So we were medical students. They were looking for somebody to do this job, so they just asked, oh, are there any medical students? Oh, yeah, sure. So we went with the UW students, and we did this. But, when we had to get white coats, there was no white coat ceremony. They said, go get your white coats. And we went, and you picked them up, and you did what you were told, and that was it. And you went on with your life, and there was no reflection. There was no thinking about what it does mean. And I think we're in a much better place now. I heard from one of the Oser Fellows that she had actually had a diary while she was a medical student and really reflected throughout her time. I don't remember reflecting very much. I just remember showing up to places and doing what I was told. So today we're celebrating donning a white coat, what we call the healer's habit. And we know it's not your first time. Originally, this ceremony marked the time where people would take on the responsibility of seeing patients. And I know since 2013, our classes actually have been seeing patients since first year. But it is, nevertheless, a symbolic ceremony because it marks the difference between being an observer and becoming a participant in the care of patients. Initially in a very indirect way, but eventually in a very direct way. And it's a very important milestone, and I think it has a lot of meaning. Now, white coats. Some people will know I'm not a white coat fan. White coats are supposed to, represent the attire of the priest, of the healer. It's a formal uniform that tells you that tells everyone that you've been approved, as it were, to take on a role, which is a very important role in every society, which is the role of healer. And it's it's relatively new in the history of medicine because physicians didn't wear white coats until just over a century ago. And it was adopted because people wanted to have the allure of being scientists. In the late 19th and early 20th century, as medicine adopted the pretension that it was a science, people had to put on white coats to show that they were just like the scientists who worked in laboratories. And there is science in medicine, but it isn't really a science alone. And that's a big part of what the ceremony is about today. In fact, some of us worry that white coats separate us from our patients. Some of us know that white coats are vectors of infection. I know how often I didn't wash mine. So, who knows what things I accomplished in terms of promoting bacterial spread. But we do call this the dawning of the healer's habit ceremony. And the idea there is to make a link with the traditional healers of the past, with what doctors have replaced in society largely, which is the person who has been invested with the responsibility in our culture to lead healing, to lead care for patients, for their families. Of course, we have the scientific white coat. We were supposed to work hand in hand with scientists, and I hope that some of you will become, as well as being physicians, you will become physician scientists. But I don't think in the future the science part of being a physician is going to be the same as it was when I was coming up. Increasingly, instead of being the source of knowledge, we as physicians are the mediators of knowledge. We were once the person you turned to find out the answer, but the answer is on Wikipedia, so we're not going to be the person to you. We are the person that we're going to be turning to understand what does it mean. And that is actually a harder job. We're going to turn out to be the mediators of technology, to figure out how to take this wonderful technology that you all are going to experience during your careers and apply it correctly to an individual patient or to make sense of it for a given family. And that's a very, very important role. And I'll pretend that the white coat symbolizes it because that's what it's about. But it isn't just science. It's also communication. It's also having empathy. It's also understanding. So in all, the white coat is there to remind us the history, the role that you play, but I also want you to think about some values. So one of them is, I hope you'll think about your commitment to lifelong learning, to never stop asking questions so that you can harness the fantastic technological advances that are coming online and really make them meaningful and useful to your patients and their families. I want you to think about your role as a team member, as a part of an interdisciplinary, interprofessional team, because that's the future of healthcare. It's not the solo doctor working by herself in an office. There will be that, but there will also be much more of being part of a team, collaborating with health professionals, mediating the transfer of information. And I also want you to think about the awesome responsibility that you'll have from this point forward to be the best physician you can for your patients and for their families. So in that sense, the white coat is symbolism of a very high order. And it's, in the end, a reflection of who you are, of the person you are. It's a reflection of you. It's been called an emblem of trust, but the trust is something you have to earn from your patients. And you earn it by your professionalism, by living up to the responsibilities that have been conferred upon you. We have every confidence that you can and will earn the respect and deserve that respect. Nous sommes absolument convaincus que vous saurez mériter cette confiance et ce respect. That's why you're here. Now, donning the white coat is a simple gesture, and you'll see it's very funny when it happens. The height differences and stuff, it's a lot of fun. But it's not only for you, it's also a big deal for your family and friends. And pour arriver à ce moment précis, vous avez dû travailler extrêmement fort avec le soutien de vos proches. Alors ce moment doit être une grande fierté aussi pour eux. And you're living your dreams and your hopes, but you only can be there because of the families and friends who supported you. So I want you to give a nice round of applause for them who are here today. Merci beaucoup. Alors, chers futurs médecins, au nom de la faculté de médecine, je vous félicite I wish you the best on the next steps in your journey and in making everyone in this room proud. Profitez bien de cette journée mémorable. Merci. Thank you very much.
That's okay. Good morning and welcome. It's wonderful to be back in Montreal. I'm Dr. Frederick Braun. I'm a child neurologist, and I'm a member of the medical class of 1972. 50 years ago, like I was at the same place the White Coat recipients are now. My wife and I have set up an endowment to support the White Coat ceremonies. Unfortunately, she couldn't join me today, but she did help me in my speech. She said, remember the 3 B's. Be brief, be to the point, be seated. Then she added and looked at me because I'm getting old, and don't get them in the wrong order. Before flying here, my daughter, who's a social worker, asked why did we as a family decide to support the White Coat ceremony? And my answer was this. First, when I was a medical student, there was no ceremony, as the dean pointed out, to mark that event going from your book years to your clinical years. All that happened was a pharmacy company by the name of Eli Lilly gave us a doctor's bag filled with tools. I proudly can say that our class was the first class as a whole to say no to big pharma. We gave the dean a lot of gray hair. The second reason that Maureen and I wanted to set up this endowment was to pay back to McGill. I was not only accepted to a world-renowned medical school, but in my clinical years, I got exposed to, got to work with, got to socialize with physicians who molded me as a healer. The people that I would like to mention now, some of them are dead, that made a big life was, first of all, Bernadette Nograti, a pediatric radiologist at Montreal Children's. She was my mentor for 4 years. Also, Gordon Waters, a child neurologist. Fred Anderman, a neurologist that recently passed away. And even Dr. Wilder Penfield, a neurosurgeon. The last reason for our support of this event, I told my daughter, was to tell both, let me step back. The last reason was so that you could remember how important this event is, but you could also remember what McGill has done for you. I would ask not only the White Coat recipients, but their guests to remember what McGill has done for you and your community. And hopefully, you will be able to support McGill in the future. Thank you.
Thank you to both Dean Eidelman for your inspiring words and Dr. Frederick Braun for your generous support of our White Coat ceremony. It's now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. The keynote speaker for our White Coat ceremony is Dr. Beth Lown, who is an associate professor of medicine, Harvard Medical School, Boston, and an internist at Mount Auburn Hospital, where she directs the fellowship in health professional education. As the Chief Medical Officer of the Schwartz Center for Compassionate Healthcare, Dr. Lown contributes to the spread and evaluation of Schwartz Rounds, a supportive interdisciplinary forum where professionals and staff gather together to discuss the challenges and emotional impact of providing care for others. Dr. Lown is a fellow and past president of the American Academy on Communication in Healthcare, and she speaks nationally and internationally about empathy, compassion, communication, and relationships, and how healthcare structures and processes influence professional well-being and compassion. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Beth Lown.
Good morning. Good morning, class of 2022. Dean Eidelman, Associate Dean Cummings, and Dr. Brown. I am very, very deeply honored to be here with you today as you enter this new phase of your lives and your careers. And on this very special occasion, I would like to share 3 celebratory hopes with you. So here's the first hope. My first hope is that you'll take care not to let your white coat set you apart from nor above others. Right now, this probably seems like a really far cry from what you're feeling, which is probably a combination of pride, excitement, curiosity, and a lot of anxiety, perhaps. But you will be crossing a Rubicon when you put on that white coat. Yes, it is a symbol of the profession, of physicianhood, of the healer, but it is also a symbol of authority and power. Initially, you will feel the same, but others will see you differently. You'll be granted the privilege and authority to ask questions not permitted elsewhere. What role does sexuality play in your life? Has anyone close to you threatened or hurt you? Have you had any thoughts of suicide? What's most important to you right now? Show me where it hurts. Please tell me more. At first, you may not know what to do with patient's response. That's okay, you'll learn. It's better to seek help when you don't know what to do than not to ask at all. And the amazing thing is that if you ask these important questions with non-judgment, respect, genuine concern for their well-being, patients will open their hearts and share their confidences with you. This is sacred space you will be entering, shared space in which you'll find yourself resonating, empathizing, trying to understand the experiences of others, wondering how to be of help. On occasion, after being absorbed and listening to a patient's story, I'd look around and sort of notice my surroundings and return to the realization that I actually live here inside my world, and they live there inside theirs. And thank God, you might say, as you're trying to desperately to leave their worlds behind, home and get home at a reasonable hour. But there in that I-thou split lies the limits of empathy, which sustains the yearning for connection. It is challenging. Too much too close, and you risk over-identification and empathic distress. Too little too distant, and you risk detachment. Where is that Goldilocks space of just right connection, of the caring equanimity that Osler described, and how do you find it? One day, early in my primary care practice, a petite, feisty, white-haired woman, Mrs. S., ushered her similarly petite, ailing husband, Mr. S., into my office. She was a therapist, still practicing in her mid-70s. He had been a successful insurance executive, but had suffered from heart disease, for which he had undergone bypass surgery in the very earliest days of that procedure, and was complicated by a bleeding disorder requiring multiple transfusions, which then resulted in hepatitis C before there was anything that could be done about it, and later heart failure and renal insufficiency. Mrs. S. was a fierce advocate for her husband and left no details unattended. As the 3 of us sat together, I inquired about him and his family history. When I asked how his father had died, he said quietly, "Suicide." His wife interjected, "No, dear, don't you remember? It was pneumonia." "No," he replied. "He died of suicide. He hung himself. I found him." In their 50-plus years of marriage, he had never disclosed this information to her. I knew something profound had shifted in the room. Later, she told me it was as if I had, quote, flown right in under the radar, end of quote, and unearthed that long-buried, tender part of the man she had always loved. That began a long relationship with them both. He became too frail to see me in the office, but they lived right across the street from the hospital, so I'd stop off on my way home to see how they were doing. She was always interested in how I was doing. He was gentle and kind. We struggled through decisions about feeding tubes and end-of-life goals as each day he receded into his pillows and coverlets, barely a wisp of a man towards the end. As was my practice, I wrote poems to make sense of it all. 5 poems about them over the course of his illness. I thought about how we're so often caught in the twin dilemmas of I-thou between us and present moment awareness and metacognitive reflection within ourselves. Sometimes, though, moments occur seemingly suspended in time during which we achieve a sense of wholeness through understanding and acceptance of these dilemmas of the human condition. Like this moment I'll describe in one of the poems I wrote about this couple called Home Visit. Home Visit. I hurry to my car, leaving behind the noise of the hospital. I veer around the corner into the small lane and rush up the steps, late. I pause at the door, hand poised at the bell, as through the window I see him asleep on the window bench, covered by a carefully pieced hand-knit blue afghan. His wife sits on a chair nearby, bent over, her head on a pillow next to his, their white hair mingling as they sleep. I hesitate outside, noticing the thick, sweet smell of hot summer roses hanging in the air. I'm reluctant to disturb their peaceful reunion. These moments are at once comforting, familiar, exhilarating, sad, and heart-achingly lovely. After Mr. S. died, I gave the 5 poems to Mrs. S., who bound them into a handmade book and gave me a copy. Her son read the poems at his funeral, and years later, when Mrs. S. died of complications of dementia, I read that poem at her funeral and wished them a peaceful reunion. Was I too close to them? I don't think so. I know we don't talk about love much in medicine, but compassion is born of love, and both compassion and love are well springs of purpose and meaning for those who offer and receive them. So hope number 1, take care not to let your white coat set you too far apart or above others. Here's hope number 2. My second hope is that you let empathy and compassion drive your curiosity. It will improve your clinical reasoning and make you a better doctor. A moment for definitions. Empathy is understanding thoughts and feelings of others. Compassion is using that empathic understanding to respond to concerns, distress, pain, and suffering. So if you let your empathy and compassion drive curiosity, you'll find yourself asking questions like, why is this patient sick in this particular way? Why is what I'm doing not helping? What does she really need? What am I missing? It will drive your clinical reasoning to higher levels. I'm going to read you another poem, and this is about a patient whose angina I definitely was not making any better, and it is again about a home visit. I'm a big fan of home visits, by the way. If you really want to know who your patient is in the context of his or her real life, go check it out. So I call this Mary, but that's not her real name. She brings her chest pain to me and Armenian Narzouk pastries for my children. I admit her again. Not a candidate for surgery. I tweak her meds this way and that, like an ill-fitting dress that I cannot force flat. I go to her home thinking, perhaps I'll find the answer in too many stairs, and I ask her to show me how she takes her pills that lie a jumble on her kitchen table. What color is the sugar pill, she says? And I understand. She cannot read. So hope number 2. Let your empathy and compassion drive your curiosity. Not only will it help you know your patients as people in the context of their real lives, it'll improve your clinical acumen and your ability to provide truly person-centered care. Here's hope number 3. Pay attention to how you're feeling and be compassionate with yourselves. You will have times when it's hard to be compassionate. You will be tired. And some people will challenge your patience. Sometimes it may seem that no matter how hard you work, your best just isn't good enough. You may even make a mistake. Such situations can leave you feeling despondent. Please do not worry alone. Reach out, call someone you trust, get help. I loved my patient, Mrs. B. She and her husband had been patients for many years. Mrs. B was kind, sweet, loving, generous. They had several children all close by, and she helped care for many of her grandchildren until she developed an aggressive, rapidly progressive cancer. I referred her to an oncologist I respected and trusted. In fact, he was the oncologist I asked to take care of my own father towards the end of his life. Mrs. B never complained and always seemed to manage a smile after chemotherapy, multiple surgeries, and then when we had exhausted the possibilities for extending her life, we engaged hospice to help manage her pain and nausea. I visited her at home, where she occupied a hospital bed in the center of her living room, surrounded by her family. She looked comfortable, but her youngest son wanted more to be done, insisting that his mother not give up. But Mrs. B had made her wishes clear. There were to be no heroic measures. After she died, her son called to schedule a meeting with me and his father, angrily insisting I should have offered more aggressive treatments early in her mother's course to prevent the progression of her disease, indicating key points in her course where different choices should have been made. I spent hours preparing for the meeting, reviewing our management. Had we not been clear about her options? Had Mrs. and Mr. B not felt involved enough about the decisions regarding her care? What had we overlooked? Was it possible we hadn't done enough? I felt anxious, under attack, defensive, and even a little bit angry. Just before the meeting, the son called and canceled it. I called my practice partner, who had spoken with the son as I was out of the office at the time, and I said, "What happened?" And my partner said he thought the son just needed to know he had been a strong enough advocate for his mother. I reflected later about how hard it is to give yourself up to the process of a loved one's dying, to be able to say the 4 things that matter most, as Ira Byock teaches us. Please forgive me. I forgive you. Thank you. I love you. I understood what the son was feeling. I had experienced such anguish around the time of my own father's death. My anxiety and self-blame diminished, and my compassion reawakened. So here's my 3rd hope for you. Treat yourselves with the same kindness and compassion you would offer to others if they were in pain or suffering. There will be times when you fall short of your expectations. Instead of blaming yourself for whatever inadequacies or failings you believe you may have, stop. Recognize and acknowledge your own suffering. Do your best. Learn from your mistakes. Find mentors to guide you. Seek counseling. Build friendships and relationships. Create peer reflection groups you can count on for support. Reach out. Let others in. So remember, don't let your white coat set you apart. Let empathy and compassion drive your curiosity, and be compassionate with yourselves. I'll end with one last poem I call Letting In. Letting in. Open the shades and trace white frost etchings with your fingertip on the pane. Let the prism divide the light into brilliant dancing shadows that splash violet and indigo against your cheek. Open the door. Feel your breath slide through airways huddled against the cold as you run through the streets at dawn and watch the sky ripen rosy and golden. Open your soul. Let in the light and the frost. Admit love to your life. No one breathes this air alone. And so, fellow learners, I wish you a life of purpose, meaning, compassion, and love. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lone, for your inspiring wishes and hopes for the class of 2022. Ms. Valerie Caldas will now offer the reflections.
Thank you. I'm Valerie Caldas, and I'm a fourth-year medical student here at McGill. I'm very honored to be speaking with you today about the road that lies ahead of you in your medical school careers. First, congratulations to everyone. Congrats to the students for making it through the first rigorous year of medical school, but also congratulations to the family and friends in the room, because this day is as much your day as it is theirs. A special thank you to Osler Fellows for being our invaluable guides on this journey. Although each and every one of you has had your own path into medicine, whether it was after years in a related or unrelated career, or you've been dreaming about medicine since childhood, you're all here after countless hours of hard work and sacrifice. My own personal path into medicine was a circuitous one, and one that started on the patient side of the patient-doctor relationship. But that humble role is what inspired me to enter medicine, and also what inspires me to speak with you here today about what unites us in this room. I wish I could say that things get easier once you don the white coat, but they don't. What changes instead is the nature of your work. Instead of those grueling hours spent poring over your computers and your books, you'll instead be spending sometimes 12 to 16 hours a day interacting with patients and applying that knowledge in a real and complicated context. Of course, the studying will always be with you, so no illusions there. You'll be running from your patient's room to the nursing station, down to the emergency department, answering pages and phone calls, looking for that ever-elusive chart, and just hoping you get to eat lunch that day. But don't worry, you won't be alone. You'll be surrounded by excellent teams of residents and doctors, and you'll be also with nurses who will very patiently teach you basic things. And they'll laugh with you, but they'll also be there for you. Because the journey you're about to embark upon is one of the greatest privileges there is. Let me tell you why. The pristine white coat you put on today is a symbolic entry into the best and worst days of people's lives. In your obstetrics rotation, you will be participant to the birth of a child, and you will be delivering that child to grateful and elated parents, and not just once, but many times a day. In your other rotations, and even in obstetrics, you will accompany and guide your patients through life-changing decisions, poor prognoses, and yes, even death. And you've probably said or heard this phrase before, I'm just a medical student. And as Dr. Smilovich will no doubt tell you in the upcoming years, and a piece of wisdom I want to share with you today, you are never just a medical student. Regardless of your title or the letters behind your name, you have the power of transforming someone's experience. You will have the privilege of entering into your patients' lives and of witnessing and sharing in their suffering, fear, hopes, and joy. And with that privilege comes great responsibility. And that's what I want to tell you today. Because to the patient who asks you questions, who puts in your trust, their lives, and their histories, you are never just a medical student. You are a gatekeeper to that consult. You are that extra explanation, sometimes the only explanation. You are a pair of compassionate ears, and you will know your patients even better than your staff. You are their advocate. Sometimes you just happen to know the best way to the cafeteria, which is also important. Being a medical student, it's like starting a new job every week or every month. You'll find yourself conforming to the ever-changing culture of a new specialty with a new teammate, new staff, sometimes in new hospitals. and it would be easy to be overwhelmed by the pressure of the constant learning and performing well in the eyes of your superiors on a daily basis. But don't forget that patient who's in front of you, because she or he is the reason we all do what we do. And patients, they can feel it when you're stressed, when you're rushing to get out the door, but they equally feel a warm smile and an attentive person. I know. I was a patient once myself. And even though most of my classmates don't know this, I'll tell you today, I'm a survivor of ovarian cancer. And I can tell you that after 2 laparotomies and 4 months of chemotherapy in my early 20s, I don't remember much about what my doctors told me or if they were at the top of their field, but I do remember how they made me feel. And the trauma of that time in my life wasn't just fearing my prognosis, but also just feeling like my questions weren't being answered. I wasn't being listened to. I felt forgotten. My first oophorectomy and laparotomy was in rural Mexico, where the facilities were minimal, to say the least. No toilet seats, no toilet paper, not even a waiting room. But I do remember that experience as being a good one, as far as such experiences go, because of my caring team, the caring nurses, my doctors, who were great. And my second laparotomy was in a private, fancy hospital on Long Island, which felt like a hotel and had a really nice window. But that experience, I don't remember it as being a good one because of how my doctors made me feel. And those experiences is what inspired me to enter medicine, because of the good doctors, but also, importantly, because of the bad ones. And you as students will have the power of being there and transforming a patient's experience on the worst day of his or her life. That's pretty special. And you're gonna help them feel heard, cared for, and healed. What's more, don't forget what your patients can teach you and the meaning they bring to those long hours. The joy of medicine comes from those interactions, be they big or small, those with your patients, but also those with your classmates and your teams. You'll find great mentors along the way, and classmates that make every surgery round at 6 a.m. worth waking up for. And the next few years, you'll learn a lot, even though it might not always feel that way. You'll gain the confidence you need to face each new day in the hospital, and each new patient will bring with him or her new pathologies, new treatment plans, and new experiences. And I have no doubt that you'll all find great success in clerkship. Just remember, the first thank you card you get from a patient won't be as an MD, it'll be as a student. And the white coat you put on today is the first step in the rest of your lives as healers. As Maya Angelou so eloquently put it, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Congratulations again, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Valerie, for your openness in sharing your reflections with your colleagues. It is now time for the student donning of the healer's habit. I would like to invite Dr. Namta Gupta, Assistant Dean, Student Affairs, and Dr. Barry Slapkoff, Director of the Physician Apprenticeship Program, who will be assisting the students in donning their white coats during the ceremony. When your name is called, please step forward to the stage on your side for the donning of your white coat. Ismael Abdullah. Mohamed Abunada. Yitzhak Ahizar. Jérémy Alcindor. Athitan Ambikumar. Ali Alias. Christina Anitora Anthea Araji. Radu Gabriel Avramescu. Brandon O. Sophie Baril. Cypriane Bajaj. Jethro B.T. Booth. Sabrina Bartolucci. Yusra Belkas. Naila Benchalabi. Solomon Bendayan. Nisim Ben Izri. Camille Bernier-Mota. Sean Bambra. Thomas Bertrand. Philippe Boisvert. Simon Bicharin-Allard. Francis Brown. Vincent Brissette. Adam Kaplan. Elisa Buffoni. Liana Carusone. Matthew Carias. Elias Chalet. Corinne Cécile Chartrand. Syrian Chami. Elodie Chamas. Michael Chen. Khadija Chalabi. Sami Shergi. Zakian Chan. Julia Craig. Joshua Clayton. Kathleen Dai. Anita Dabirzadeh. Anna Davidson. Béatrice Desnaux Deschênes. Ronnie Deli Hussein. Anthony Dubé. Jobin Dillon. Antoine Denis. Jenna Marie Donaldson. James Andrew Dixon. Nicolas Dubé-Lecorf. Mélie Dutremblay. Delphine Duvernay-Tardif. Justine Dufour. Noah El Sherbini. Alexa Elbracht. Harish Gangatharan. Blaise Frenette. Dominique Geffrion. Alexandre Genet. Maria Giannoumis. Kalia Georges. Alexandra Germain. Yasna Golyari. Isut Gibert. Britta Gustafsson. Élise Jouard Chantal. Rami Habib. Nassim Haghandish. Chloe Gordon. Ira Harvey. Alonso Gutierrez Salazar. Madi Hassan. Pascal Haddad. Brianna Hodgins. Lynn Hamoud. Dana Gwynn. Raphael Harvey. Haley Insel. Mehdi Hegagi. Suk Jatana. Chu Chia Su. Yi Zan Jia. Isabelle Joyal. Ahmed Imkaouden. Victor Kang. Fardad Jabari Aslani. Yasmin Kardouli. David G. Sarah Khalil. Benjamin Joannette Pilon. Dong Win Kim. Arshia Kafash. Athena Sut Yang. Ying. Ko. Sarah Kordlui. Matin Karachian. Maximilien La Violette Brassard. Christelle Cadra. Alexandra Lay. Nimra Khan. Anson Lee. Ryan Kligman. Julia Leonard. Jenny Conchi. Cameron Levins. Curry Megan. Ja Li Liu. Victoire Padé. Brian Liu. Marianne Lavoie Rancourt. Mirella Mayer. Madison Legeli. Alexandra Marshall. Alexandre Le Nguyen. Noémie Ménard. Sarah Lépine. Ian McPhee. Jia Chen Liang. Sophie Mo. Wei Xi Liu. Samuel Monplaisir. Tiffany Mack. Lydia Michalchuk. Daria Nomova. Sandrine Major. Magdalena Piva. Rebecca Massicotte. Alexandre Poisson. Craig McCullough. Tasnia Rahman. Niku Merati. Gyanjit Triya Ramburn. Kevan Muhammad Ali. Isabel Reeves. Jenny Morissette. Carlos Felipe Romero Butrago. Carolyn Najjar. Jack Rudsky. Aditya Pal. Sangeetha Santhakumaran. Geneviève Peel. Ezra Schwartz. Marie Picard. Noor Iman Sulami. Lucas Shumtim. Sheetal Pundir. Caitlin Stodart. Ferial Ramani. Naomi Suissa. Gabrielle Rashkovan. Zara Talat. Justine Renaud. Chloé Thériault. Brendan Ross. Alicia Tuccinardi. Jasdeep Sagar. Rosemary Vincent. Jake Schwartz. Anna Wang. Kurush Samsar Kazaruni. Harrison Watt. Meng Zhu Shi. Keelan Wu. Aminata Sumana. Wen King Zhu. Michelle Stupler. Ella Zettler. Michelle Talifer. Hedi Zhao. Samantha Taylor. Daniel Tomaso. Jessica Villeneuve. Christina Wade. Gary Wang. Jerome Williams. Veronica Youssef. Xiao Yang. Shuyi Zai. We are so very proud to have been part of such an important milestone in your lives. Congratulations to you all. Let us now there'll be a chance for more applause later, I promise. Let us now welcome your colleague, Corinne Cécile Chartrand, who will offer her address as your class president.
Okay, this is a big crowd. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Bon matin à tous. Thank you all for being here with us today. C'est un réel plaisir pour nous de vous avoir parmi nous. So on behalf of the McGill Medicine Class of 2022, I would like to acknowledge and thank the people whose dedication, care, and hard work made this day possible. So firstly, thank you to Dr. Cummings, Dean Edelman, Dr. Gupta, and Dr. Slapkoff, and the Faculty of Medicine for encouraging and supporting each and every one of us. I would also like to thank the Physicianship Committee for organizing and granting us with a ceremony we will all remember, and to the Medici di McGill String Quartet for welcoming us with such a heartwarming musical prelude. Also, I would like to thank Dr. Frederick Brown and his wife Maureen for your selfless generosity and kindness, and to every Osler Fellow for your leadership and mentorship this past year. Lastly, I would like to thank both our speakers, so Dr. Beth Lone and Valerie Caldas, for taking the time to share your stories and inspiring us with your wisdom. We are truly privileged to have you all here with us today to celebrate the donning of our white coats. Cette journée marque une étape importante de notre parcours en médecine et nous sommes reconnaissants d'avoir l'honneur de la partager avec chacun d'entre vous. Alors, merci. And now, to my dear class of 2022, where to start? Writing a speech is an interesting thing. You sit there looking at your blank page, hoping the greatest idea will somehow spark on its own and make the words flow naturally. This is not what happened to me. I had no clue how I would manage to come up with a speech that would speak to all of you and represent our entire class, given its remarkable diversity. What happened was, I got distracted. I got distracted by the words American football. Now, before you start thinking I'm going totally off topic, please hear me out. Diversity can sometimes be seen as disadvantageous or threatening. I like to see it as the complete opposite. En effet, la diversité rassemble les gens en permettant à chaque individu d'y mettre du sien et d'être valorisé pour ce qui le rend différent, ce qui le rend indispensable. Le tout devient alors plus grand que la somme de ses parties. So just like in football, where every player is different but essential to the team, each member of our class contributes to the student body as a whole and helps shape the physicians we aspire to be. Now, the quarterback is often known as the leader. He calls the play and initiates action, his action always rapid and accurate. High achievers as we are, I mean, let's be honest here, I'm sure most of us strive to reach that level of success. However, if you take time to appreciate the play from an outsider point of view, you will quickly realize that the word leader is quite subjective. Indeed, some obstacles are foreseeable, but mistakes are inevitable. But just like in football, where it's the coaches that lead the training, we have mentors and teachers that will guide us into becoming the best version of ourselves. One that will acknowledge the fact that without the running back, this crucial and versatile player, or without the offensive line that oversees the field and protects the players, it gets harder for the quarterback to execute the play. Therefore, may we remember that every health professional, hospital worker, board member, volunteer, student, and patient we encounter are also an indisputable part of the team. Le jour arrivera où, à leur façon, chacun d'entre eux nous aidera à retrouver le chemin qui nous mènera sur le terrain. Sans eux, la profession que nous avons choisie serait alors d'autant plus difficile. Now, this ceremony today is our halftime. It allows us to take a break from the fast pace of the game in order to look back at the diligent work and continuous efforts that all got us here. It also allows us to look forward to what lies ahead, that part of the journey we all long for. And even though the unknown may be scary, we will learn how to see it as a challenge to embrace in order to learn and grow. Yes, the day will come when we will not be thrown off balance when facing a linebacker or a defensive line because we will have learned how to dodge the tackle. Remember, it is always possible to break down barriers or execute a new play. Now, the core to such a successful outcome is passion, dedication, perseverance, and last but not least, the crowd that fills up the stands and cheers everyone on. So let us say thank you to our loved ones, family, and friends that are here with us today or watching at home. Whether it is your countless encouragements, precious advice, supporting shoulder, or home-cooked meals, the sacrifices you have all made for us have not gone unnoticed. Nous ne serions pas ici sans vous, et donc aujourd'hui nous vous disons merci. And lastly, before anyone calls a timeout or raises their hand to tell me I'm running overtime, you know I always say, teamwork makes the dream work. Therefore, my dearest class of 2022, it is with great honor that I invite you to work as a team once more by joining me in pledging our commitments to our patients, community, and colleagues. Is everyone ready? Today, we don our white coats, the healer's habit. It's a day of joyful transition, but also one of humble reflection on the privilege the coat embodies and the weight of its responsibilities. With that, we pledge to be guided by integrity, curiosity, and humility, to recognize our limitations and those of medicine, and have the courage to ask for help, to embrace the stewardship of equitable health care, to let not our desire to overcome the disease attract our goal of healing the person, to hold sacred the ideal that our presence at the bedside is in trust and love. As we step closer toward our roles in the service of others, may we remember that our coats sets us apart from our patients, the one of guidance that draws us together. Aujourd'hui, c'est avec honneur, joie, mais surtout humilité que nous revêtons le sable blanc, habit du médecin, reconnaissant ainsi tous les privilèges et responsabilités qu'il a. Ainsi, nous nous engageons à être guidés par les valeurs d'intégrité, de curiosité et d'humilité, à reconnaître nos propres limites ainsi que celles de la médecine et à avoir le courage de solliciter l'aide lorsque nécessaire, à honorer notre responsabilité de venir les soins sociaux et équitables, à ne pas laisser notre désir de être en maladie nous détruire notre économie, celui de soins de à appuyer l'idéalisation, un travail qui repose avant tout sur le respect et la confiance, alors que nous prononçons cette promesse et faisons part de nos nous n'oublions jamais que ce sont nos responsables politiques qui nous exigent de patience, mais plutôt que ce soit de nos propres conseillers, en rapprochant de ceux que nous sommes. Thank you.
Congratulations again to all of our students and to their family and friends who are also on this journey. Last chance. We now invite you to move into the foyer or to the sides of the room to join us for a glass of champagne to celebrate our students, as we will need 5 minutes or so to rearrange the ballroom for the reception. Please be sure when you leave the room to take all personal belongings with you, including any you may have stored under your chair or in the overhead bins. Note that all students will be receiving 2 Osler Fellow books from the faculty, and students, please do remember to pick them up before you leave today. Congratulations.